Well, hey everybody, it's Sandy, and welcome back to my channel dedicated to helping you advocate for your own health one topic at a time. So, for those of you who've been watching my recent videos, I've been on a quest to find a reusable, washable fabric face mask that is somehow protective for the wearer, and I had settled on two. Each one made of a textile that is impregnated with some sort of an antimicrobial agent, and I did review both of these two separately on my channel just recently. One was the Sono mask by Sonovia, and the other the BioBlock mask by Argamon Technologies. Now, I'm going to try not to be too redundant, so I am going to link the reviews to each one of these videos below in the description box and try to just minimally refer to it. I'm going to break down my decision here. This is sort of my Sonovia versus Argamon, which one is best? And it is a little more nuanced than I would have thought. I definitely have my preference. But I found that with answering your guys' questions and looking at some of the comments that I found myself realizing that there's probably a little bit of an application even for the one that I'm not crazy about. Sort of depends on what you're looking to use them for. So I'm going to try to break this down really in a couple of categories: price point, the antimicrobial activity, the degree of filtration, and then finally, what do I think, for me is what's the overall best mask, overall winner. And that might just depend a little bit on what you're looking for. So as far as the price point, okay, the Sonovia mask retails at $69 for one mask, but the price drops dramatically if you're going to buy more than one mask, and they sell them in all different packages like 5, 10, 15, 20. So this is a 10 pack, and it came down to under $35 a mask. The BioBlock mask by Argamon Technologies, on the other hand, is $50 a mask, and that's no matter how many you buy. The other big difference, though, is that Sonovia offered free shipping, whereas Argamon did not. These both come from Israel, and they both used DHL shipping, so they arrived very quickly. But I will tell you that the shipping with the BioBlock mask by Argamon Technologies was just so expensive that it just made this Sono mask a clear-cut winner, especially when you consider that you can buy them in the quantities to reduce the price per mask. So I could see this being a perfect application for, like, if you're an office manager and you're having to supply your office, or if you're a store manager, your employees are required to wear masks, and you keep having to buy these disposable masks. Over time, I would think that the Sonovia would become cheaper pretty quickly if you're buying a bulk supply, and people are going to be able to reuse these and wash them. Each one of these masks is washable up to 100 times. BioBlock, Argamon still has to update its website, but they assure me that it has been tested and it is washable. So both of these are washable up to 100 times. At once a week, that's about a little under 2 years. So price-wise, the Sono mask is hands down the winner, in my opinion. As far as the antimicrobial effects, these are at different stages with their testing. So they're both seeking FDA approval. They're both seeking NIOSH, which is National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health certification, but they are at different stages. So the Argamon Technologies, the BioBlock mask, has been tested by the FDA for how quickly it works in terms of its virucidal and bactericidal action. And the test that the FDA performs on these types of things takes about 5 minutes to perform. So you can't get it down any smaller than that. They're allowed to say that it kills bacteria and deactivates virus in under 5 minutes. Most likely, that's really probably on contact. I wish they could get that test down so that it didn't take as long to perform, but that's the best you can do. The Sonovia mask is not as far along with that FDA testing. Their designation right now is that by the FDA is that they are marketing. They're at that stage. So I don't know how long it's going to be. They have had some testing done in an independent lab in Austria, and that was just aimed at with how much of bacteria and virus will be deactivated, killed after being exposed to the fabric. And what happens is that how that is evaluated is there's, the culture medium is put on the textile. They come back in 24 hours later and look and see how much is eradicated. It is a very impressive, like 99.9999% with the bacteria and very close to that with viruses. But that doesn't tell you how quickly it worked, because that's like looked at in 24 hours. So They have yet to go through that. They say that in their labs in vitro that the nanoparticles do kill bacteria, deactivate virus on contact. I believe them. I'm looking forward to seeing what the testing with the FDA has to say. So I think these two are pretty comparable, but the testing is just not quite there yet with the Sono mask. Now, as far as the filtration, that's a pretty big difference between these two products, and I found myself very surprised in my preference. Now, the Sono mask filters its fabric, its textile filters down to 5 microns, and that's well within the large respiratory droplet filtration. Large respiratory droplets range from 5 to 1,000 microns. The BioBlock mask by Argamon, on the other hand, says that it filters down to 0.12 micron particle size, which is a very ambitious filter. And it really sounds too good to be true. And I said in my review, and again, I'll recommend that you just see it for more detail. I had some very serious reservations with this filter, and I still do. And it's not that I doubt the filter has the ability to filter at that particle size, but it's that from my work in healthcare and wearing masks is I know that there's always some leakage with a mask. So anything that's trying to filter particles that are that small needs to be properly sealed. If it's not properly sealed, then that tight filter is going to create too much pressure buildup, and that's going to force a lot of the air around the periphery of the mask so that there's really more leakage than you see in something that isn't filtering down to such a tiny size. So that's why, for example, an N95 needs to be properly fitted so that you're not just leaking all around it. So as a crude experiment I described in my review on this mask that I did, I wore each one of these actually separately, and I sealed them all around the sides. I just suspect that this one needs to be studied a little bit better to see what happens when it is completely sealed. I suspect that when it's completely sealed, there could be a concern about a carbon dioxide buildup. I don't find that it's really that wearable completely sealed. And then therefore, I'm not really sure how much of the benefit that you're getting out of this filter that it boasts. Okay, so I had a real problem with that. I felt like, as a practical matter, large respiratory droplets seem to be more the concern in terms of contagion when it comes to the COVID-19 anyway, unless you are working on a COVID unit or in an environment where there's a lot of aerosol particles being generated. It seems that aerosolized particles, which this is meant to filter, at least the filter size suggests so, those really aren't as much of a consideration for those of us out and about in everyday life. So suffice it to say, I've already spoiled it, that I felt like the overall winner is the SONOVIA mask. And I think that just for a variety of reasons, not the least of which it's very practical because it's very comfortable, it's very cool. And I do think that, that has to be considered if you're talking about like wearing this thing out and about all the time, inside, outside, when you're running around. I think a 5 micron particle size filtering is very reasonable for the reason I just said, and I'm very satisfied with it. I did recommend in my video a particular taping technique. If you're going to be in environments where other people around you aren't wearing masks, I would look to seal the gaps at the top. I would recommend that with any mask. As far as the BioBlock mask, I could envision a couple of kinds of situations where this would be the better option, and these are very narrow kinds of situations. But after I got some of the questions and comments from you guys when I reviewed each one of these masks, this sort of came into clarity for me. It came into focus. So one thing is, if let's say you are wearing an N95 because of the work that you do, so you have to wear an N95. I don't recommend giving that up. That's an FDA approved device and you know what it's doing. But what a lot of people are doing is they're wearing face shields, and sometimes you're in an environment where you can't wear a face shield for one reason or another. I heard from one person who's an ophthalmologist, they have to get right up to a microscope right in front of somebody's face. You really couldn't do that with a face shield on. That's just one example. But so then, the front of your N95 is really a biohazard. Okay, because that's being exposed to exactly what you're trying to protect yourself from on the inside. Now, what a lot of people do is they put a disposable surgical mask on top of that N95, and then that surgical mask gets thrown away, and that kind of keeps a barrier there so that your N95 on the outside is a little bit cleaner. But I could see a place for this. That's where I could see an application for the BioBlock mask is if you had a properly fitting N95. Now, you wouldn't then need to seal this down and tighten it or anything. I wouldn't recommend that, but you could put this over the top and then you really wouldn't have that biohazard risk. I do think it might get hot and uncomfortable, but I'd be interested if somebody tries it to let me know what their experience is like with that. Now that I have it, I could see myself wearing this if I have to go on an airplane or something that I think is particularly risky. I don't think I would really tape it all the way around because I just think it's just impractical to wear that way, but I might try experimenting and see if maybe I taped it on the top and the sides, how much I could, eliminate the gap and still have something there for carbon dioxide to escape and to feel comfortable. I could see a place for that. And the other thing I think might warrant some consideration is some people I think are still in situations where they're reusing the N95 masks in clinical settings. And at some point, there's a trade-off there because, the CDC has a lengthy piece on its website regarding the reuse and the extended use of N95s. And basically, N95s were not made to be used several times over. They say to talk to the manufacturer, but it could be that, if you can't, really the recommendation is, 5 uses. And if you're in a situation where you don't have some other option with that N95, lo and behold, we might find out later on down the road that this is better when it completes some more testing, if it completes some more testing and they address some of the concerns that I have. But I think that this would be an excellent option if you're in that kind of a situation, because I think that we need to be very careful and considerate about the extended use and the reuse of some of these N95s. So yeah, so that's my summary of the smackdown with the SONOVIA versus the Argamon. I really am enjoying the SONOVIA. When I originally did these reviews, it was with lay people in mind, what you would use in a non-clinical setting, out and around, during your daily life. I'm very glad I chose this one. It's very comfortable, very lightweight, very cool. And, I think it's doing what it's supposed to do. I'm going to look forward to seeing more testing from both of these. So coming up, I think I was going to do more product reviews that I'm thinking about doing. Some comparison of some of the protective gloves that are made for people with arthritis or repetitive stress injuries like carpal tunnel. There are various compression gloves that are out there on the market that seem really interesting to me, and I'd be very happy if anybody's interested in that or something else. Please let me know in the comment box if you have any suggestions for things you'd like to see covered, any content that you want. And I hope this was helpful. If you haven't subscribed, I hope you'll do so. And please share with anybody who you think might find the content helpful. And until next time, be well. Bye-bye.